It's the film marketing section. This is where Pascal and I discuss a film, could be an old film, could be a new film about to be released, and we look at how that film was or is being marketed and the lessons that we can learn as marketers for our own marketing campaigns. So, Pascal, we've got something pretty up to date today, haven't we?
We have. We're going to talk about Mulan, the film version of the very kind of well-known and ancient legend of China, where a young woman essentially dresses herself as this male soldier to save her father's reputation and potentially life. And this is known to international audience because there was a 1998 animated cartoon, if you will, Roger, that was done by Disney themselves. So Mulan, the film, is a Disney production. And we've done it again, Roger. It so happens that the day of recording this podcast is the day of the release of Mulan on Disney+. We've done almost something similar with Tenet. And the reason why I'm bringing those two films together is that Tenet was the first kind of blockbuster film, Roger, that was released at the theaters.
Yeah.
Mulan actually is the opposite, which is the first kind of major blockbuster to be released via streaming only, Disney Plus primarily. Let me take you back to what has happened to this film, like all the others impacted upon by the pandemic. Now, the film was originally scheduled to be released, would you believe, last year. So in 2019, I'm in that. So, and it was pushed by reasons where it was clashing with other titles. But eventually they settled on, we're going to go for the 27th of March, 2020. Of course, the pandemic happened. They said, well, don't worry then, we're going to go for July 24th. All will be well by then. Now, don't worry, we're going to go for 21st of August. All will be well by then. And then eventually they decided to cancel all attempt to release the movie through the theaters. And instead, they're going to go for what they called, streaming only. And you will be able to access the movie by paying a premium fee via Disney Plus. So if you are on Disney Plus, you pay your few pounds, a few dollars a month, but to access this film, there will be a premium fee. So, Roger, this is the first movie to do so. And again, I think people are going to be watching it very, very carefully to see whether or not this is worthy of, their own production, their own film, to be kind of dealt in that manner.
Yeah, we've said this before, Pascal, haven't we? That COVID has changed everything. And, on the one hand, that you've got the pressure from the government now saying people have got to get back to work. People have got to get back to work. And I don't know whether you can assume that everything has to go back to the way it was before. A lot of companies have worked out that they can save a fortune by having people working from home. And maybe instead of forcing people back into city centres so that coffee shops and restaurants and all of that infrastructure that used to support the worker is okay, maybe you just have to move on and say, no, things have changed. And the same with cinemas. Now, before COVID, yes, I would be first in line for a new Bond film, first in line for a film like Tenet, first in line for a film like Mulan. But now things have changed. And I don't know whether I want to go to the cinema straight away to see a film. But on the other side of the coin, I don't know whether I want to wait 6 months for it to come out on Blu-ray or DVD. So I think that what they've done here is actually good. It's giving you the choice to pay a little bit more. Now, their fee for watching it is $29.99, isn't it? And I mean, that's fine. If I go to the cinema, if I go to the Odeon in Edinburgh, the one that I go to, I usually pay for the slightly bigger seats, the premiere seats. And I think they're about £15 each, those tickets, maybe £16. On top of that, I'll probably buy a coffee. And so I would be happy to pay that sort of price to watch a newly released blockbuster in the privacy of my own home. And I could argue that actually it's a more pleasant experience, because sometimes you go to the cinema these days and by the time somebody's got a bucket of popcorn or somebody else is crunching away on nachos and dribbling cheese all over the floor or eating a gigantic stinky hot dog, you do sometimes wonder whether you actually would be better off at home. But you can't expect a big studio to be happy to just let you pay $5.99 for the entire family to watch a new blockbuster. I think we should expect to pay the sort of price you would expect to be charged at a cinema. But I hope this actually works, because I have a bit of a fear, Pascal. Yesterday I saw the new trailer for Bond 25. It's utterly amazing, loved it, and they're now saying that it's going to be released on the 14th of November, I think. I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm not sure that actually we're going to be still going to the cinema on the 14th of November, and I don't want them to delay it again. So please, if there is that possibility, I'll pay 35 quid to watch Bond 25. So fingers crossed that this works for Mulan, works for Disney Plus.
Yeah, so before we move on to the marketing element, there's I came across an article online, Roger, from a chap called Gene Del Vecchio. He's a entertainment consultant working in Hollywood. And what he was saying is that this may sound like a maverick move from Disney Plus or Disney, the production company, but actually the numbers do stack up. What he was saying is that they don't need a very high percentage of current subscribers to Disney Plus to make actually enough money for this to be worth their while. Interestingly, Tenet and Mulan had very similar budgets. I think just over the $200 million, which I think that's a small budget. But so I think what's going to be fascinating is to compare, obviously, who's winning here. I'm told that in Europe, primarily, not in the US, Tenet has done reasonably well at the theaters, reasonably well, bear in mind current circumstance. It'll be fascinating to see what Mulan's going to do online. But what the chap was saying, Gene Del Vecchio, is that they have an audience, and I've not seen much in terms of advertising right now. I think what is interesting is that the marketing was obviously taking place with the hope of the theatrical release. And I'm wondering whether, back to my earlier comments, I think it was actually episode 1, if I'm not mistaken, on Disney Plus, they're going to go, well, we have subscribers. All they need is a newsletter, an announcement, and we'll do that. The tricky part for me in terms of marketing Mulan is that it is a legend. It is known to the international audience because of the animation. But the real challenge is that, of course, it is a Chinese film, albeit it has an international production kind of might behind it, and it has, I believe, a New Zealand director. Forgive me, Roger, based in New Zealand. But the cast, unless you are like me, a fan of Hong Kong movies and Asian action cinema, you won't know many of them. So yes, you have Louis Yefei, that is Mulan, which is known to some of us because of other action films and dramas she's done in China. You've got Donnie Yen, which may not need as much introduction. People may remember him from Rogue One and all the international movies, but primarily, again, he's been very busy in China and Hong Kong. Jet Li might be the best known kind of actor there because of the Expendables and other movies that he's done internationally. I'm thinking of The One, I'm thinking of Kiss the Dragon and that kind of things. Jason Scott Lee, I think, is in there as well to kind of try and seduce the American audience. Jason Scott Lee is best known for playing Bruce Lee in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Yeah.
And then you've got minis that, again, I'm familiar with, Roger, because with my friend Chris Ducker, we spent far too many years of our lives watching Hong Kong movies. You've got Sima, who plays the father. You've got Chang Pei Pei, who actually was the villainess in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and many other names out there from the small and big screen of Chinese movie industry, but not necessarily known internationally. So they've had to find different ways to market it. And so far what they've done is they had the teaser trailers, they had the teaser posters, they had obviously some of the action scene presented actually just before the Rise of Skywalker, like it already did at the same time. What they did, which was interesting, Roger, I might get your reaction on that, is in addition to what you would expect movies to do, they also released a prequel novel. So there's a book out there called Mulan Before the Sword, a novel that was released actually in February 2020 to kind of, again, whet the appetite of the fans. So again, in terms of marketing, it's kind of okay, but for a movie that could risk actually being passed on by the international audience, I would have thought they would have done a bit more than that.
Yeah, the book thing's very interesting. I mean, I love books. I still like to have a properly printed book in my hand. I would imagine that the majority of people who read this, if they read the prequel at all, will probably be reading it on a Kindle or something like that. So it does seem to me to be a bit of a strange way to market a film, especially a film that isn't mainstream, and especially a film that doesn't have actors that the majority of people are going to be aware of. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Is the marketing of this film to the existing subscribers of Disney Plus going to be enough to get enough people to pay the extra $29 to watch it as it premieres, in order to convince the other studios that it's a good route to take their own, maybe even more prestigious blockbusters straight into the home cinema?
Now, it's interesting, and time will tell. I mean, obviously, today is a day of the official release. And yes, the trailer looks amazing. I know that, it's going to be a fantastic story to watch. It's going to be a proper family show. But you're back to that. We said that this time of year would be very crowded when it comes to movies, whether the theater or streaming and so on. And I think people have a lot to choose from on Disney Plus and the other streaming services. And that's why I was still thinking that maybe Disney Plus could have done just a bit more to create a sense of excitement than perhaps has been happening to date.
Can I watch this film if I don't subscribe to Disney Plus? Can I pay the $29 as a one-off, or do I actually have to take out a subscription to Disney Plus and pay the $29?
I think it's going to be the latter. Interestingly, the movie will be shown on theaters where they don't have Disney Plus as a streaming service, which includes China.
That's interesting. You see, again, maybe they're missing a trick there. You see, I would pay $32 to watch it without having to have the subscription to Disney Plus. Now, I suppose technically I could subscribe to Disney Plus, which is $5.99 for a month. I could subscribe for a month, pay the $29 to watch Mulan, and then cancel the subscription. But why make it complicated for me? Why not just let me pay $32 to watch Mulan and have done with it?
But I think for me, it's also all those missed opportunities that we've explored before. So, for example, why don't I actually go on Disney Plus for the first time ever, pay to watch Mulan, and I'm given 3 months free, and then I can then choose to renew? Why don't I actually go on the Mulan official website and have lots of freebies to download? Why don't I actually get a free copy of the book? Try and find ways, again, to work it out. And maybe, forgive me, Roger, they have done so, but it's been so discreet that it's not making, a ripple out there. It's not in the headlines. It's not being covered by any of the movies and marketing books that I consult.
Absolutely. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed that it works, because I think both of us would quite like to see more of this in-home release. And as I said before, I hope that it ends up happening with Bond 25 if there's potentially another delay caused by the pandemic. So yeah, let's be charitable and keep our fingers crossed and hope that it's a massive, massive success. Well, Pascal, episode 10 draws to a conclusion. Lots of great content to talk through today. I've really, really enjoyed it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching or listening to Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast. As always, please subscribe, leave comments and suggestions in the usual places that you consume your podcasts. Until next time, go out there and make sure your marketing is done right. I was Roger Edwards and he was Pascal Fintoni.